What's up, football fans, and thanks for joining us on the first ever edition of the Friday Night Pigskin presented by MTD Products. My name is Brian Skowronski. I am going to be your host, and we appreciate all of you out there patiently waiting for us to get on the air here tonight. We're at our old digs of 162 North Diamond Street. We just moved down the block, had to put together a little makeshift set for you guys here tonight, but I think you're going to be happy that you tuned in because we got a ton on the way, including 8 highlights. We're going to have reporters joining us for each and every one of those, breaking down the action that they took in themselves in person. And then we're going to have every single week a couple of fantastic former coaches getting you in the know about everything that you should know from week 1 of the high school football season on through week 13 into the playoffs. But let's go ahead and introduce them. I think you're going to remember these two guys. How about my guy, Eric Will, former coach for a long time for a few different programs, but most notably here in the area, the Shelby Whippets, and the former Tiger coach, Effie James, here in the house. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for being a part of the show. And, man, we got fans back in the stands. I know it was an exciting first couple of nights for you guys. Eric, tell me about what you saw and how much different the environment feels when there's actually people there, the popcorn's popping, and, you know, the band's playing. We got the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Effie brought this up in the pregame, our pregame here. And he's right. The first thing I noticed, we did the Lexington, Ontario game last night, Aaron and I did. And Lexington had one of the best student sections I've seen in a long time, even dating back. They were loud. They were ruckus. It was awesome. And just having more people in the stands other than just close friends and family was huge. I think the players were really grateful to play in front of an atmosphere where they could feed off the energy.
And Effie, what did you see out there tonight? I know you were at Arlenfield, the same game that I was at. Pretty decent crowd, man. It makes a difference.
Well, you can tell the people of Mansfield were waiting on something to do. You can actually tell. I got to the game probably about an hour before kickoff, and the parking lot was packed. Everybody was there just anticipating the game and all the great weather. It was just a great night. But it was also just great to see some semblance of high school football normalcy in the area. And I think the fans were really excited about that, and the energy in the crowd was awesome. Norwalk traveled well, so both sides of the stadium had pretty good crowds. So it was a really great night for football all around this area.
Really, it was 2 great nights of football. We were able to bring in a few games last night and then several here tonight on the OH Report. We got all the scores booked for you in the 5 conferences that we cover. Let's begin with all of the finals took place tonight and yesterday in the Firelands Conference, gentlemen. As we get these pulled up for you, here we go. Let's begin. Crestview and Loudonville. Eric, you said you had an opportunity to tune into a little bit of that. I called the game yesterday. What was your impression of the Cougars and what you saw from them in week 1?
Doing exactly what they wanted to do, exuding their will on their opponent. I thought it was a great week 1 test. Loudonville's a tough school. It's going to prepare them for their schedule that they're going to see. We know that this Firelands Conference is wide open, so you want to build on the momentum that Crestview's had going into week 2 against Bucyrus and beyond.
And actually, we don't have a score up there, but I know that South Central actually wiped the floor with Willard tonight. So lots of big wins for several schools here in this conference, including Mapleton, the likes of South Central, Plymouth, Western Reserve, Crestview. So, Effie, that has all the makings of a fun race as we get deeper and deeper into the season.
Absolutely, and starting off on a good foot. And sometimes that doesn't always mean wins, but of course you want to win those early games. But for coaches, it's about how does my team compete in week 1? Their first opportunity to compete for games that matter. And as a coach, you're really going to dig into this film, whether you win or lose, to see if your team is ready to compete. So week 1 is about trying to get wins, but it's also about determining what type of team you're going to have moving forward through the season.
Well, it just so happens, Effie, that we do have a coach on the line with us right now that was able to do both of those things. He was able to get a big win last night and then kind of see what he had after graduating a very talented senior class from a season ago. It is Crestview Cougars head coach Steve Haverdal on the line with us right here and now. So, Coach, appreciate you staying up late and giving us the time. First, just tell me about your breakdown of the game now that you've had an opportunity for it to sink in for more than 24 hours, and what would you say was your number 1 big takeaway from your big win on the road at Loudonville last night?
Well, first of all, it was just great to be out there, seeing the fans again, like you guys said before. I kind of took a breath before we had opening kickoff, and our place was packed. I mean, there's people too deep around the stands, and so that was nice to see because last year was awfully quiet. But we went in business as usual. We want to run the ball down your throat, and we were able to do that, which opened up our passing game with the play action stuff. And then defensively, we wanted to see how we did with the 3-3 stack that Coach Scheid has brought over. It's a new defense trying to figure it out, and we had a little motivation. Coach Will there talked about, I don't know, it was last week or the week before, about Lex, and there was a thing about how it's a nasty 3-3 defense. But Lex went to that forefront to stop the run a little bit more, so we wanted to make sure we could show that we could stop the run with that 3-3, and we were able to do that last night. I think we held them right around 100 yards overall, so it was a good night for us.
Defensive coach down in Columbus, so I know that stack defense is really, really good, especially when Coach Scheid had implemented that in Lexington, because Effie and I both know when you got a Kate Stover running around back there, that makes everything look pretty good. But specifically for you, talk to me even before this game. Talk to me about your summer. How did you utilize your summer workouts? And then did you feel that there was a rush this season? Because normally this is a scrimmage week. This isn't a game week. So what did that look like? Did you do more than the 10 days? Did you feel rushed going into week one? What are your thoughts on that?
No, we kept it the same. We're a small school, so our kids are doing multiple sports as it is. So I know in June, basketball, wrestling, baseball, stuff like that. We did get lifting in. But once we got to July, we would do our 10 days. The only thing that I think hurt us a little bit was that first scrimmage, not having that first initial one. But other than that, we kept everything the same, and we just got after it last night.
Hey, Coach Effie James, again, congratulations on your win. I know a lot of times your first game, you're really trying to find out who you are as a team from year to year, especially as a high school coach, and it could change from year to year. What did you find out about your team tonight in terms of what your identity is going to be moving forward, offensively and defensively? What did you learn about them tonight?
Well, we went into it. I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you, when we stepped in. It was one of those first time in 20 years I just didn't know. I mean, we lost four All-Ohioans, but one thing I know with our kids at Crestview is that they take that next man up, and they've been working extremely hard for this, and they got the opportunity to step out there in that spotlight, and they performed. We're always going to be that running team. That's just the trademark of Crestview. We're going to be physical, hard-nosed, run it down your throats. We're going to be in better shape, and then we're going to be able to open up the passing game for us. And everything just kind of clicked in last night against a good Loudonville team, and hopefully we can build on that next week against Bucyrus.
As you get, I know you're prepping for Bucyrus. That's going to be your next opponent, but I'm going to ask you a Firelands question, because I feel like this is the deepest the Firelands has been in a long time, and it is a wide open league. I really believe there are 4 or 5 teams that can beat anybody on any given night. So what does that mindset that you have to move through week to week to week in this conference? Because I just know it is an absolute gauntlet. To me, I think it's the most competitive league in our area.
It is, and I tell you what, I think all 7 teams, unfortunately New London not having been able to do 11-man this year, but I think all 7 teams have a shot to take that title. Like you said, it's very even, and you got to bring your best every week. And I think that's what these non-conference games are doing for us, is to get us prepared. That's why we go out and we play Loudonville off the bat, because they're a very physical football team, well coached. We pick up Bucyrus, which is a team in our region. And then we have week 3, we play East Knox, which we had that barn burner a couple of years ago in the playoffs against them. And Coach Reese does a very nice job with that program. And we think that those games will set us up for our run in the Firelands Conference to allow us to compete. And then obviously our goal every year is to get better every week. So, once we get there, we hope we can continue to do that. And then we're playing our best football come week 11.
I know that there's a saying here in Mansfield, if you got a gross, you got a chance. You got a coon under center for you this year, so I'm thinking you're going to have a chance in just about every game that you lace them up, man. So we're looking forward to following you all season, in particular next week. Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Steve Haverdal of the Crestview Cougars off to a 1-0 start, looking to go 2-0 next week on the road at Bucyrus. Let's keep diving into the scorebook and let you know what happened in our next conference that we cover here tonight. I believe we are going to go into the KMAC, see what happened in the KMAC conference, where there were some really fun games. Let's start with the Northmore Seneca East contest, 27-23. It came down to a doesn't get any better than that, boys. And Effie, I know you love your defense, so how about the Golden Knights getting it done when it matters most?
I love that. I love the fact that game one you have to make a big-time play defensively. And defensively, people don't think of a defense winning a ball game for you. But in this case, Northmore came back and won the game on the defensive end. And that says a lot to me about a complete team. When you got a complete team is when your defense can step up and say, no, we are going to win this game tonight. And that's where your team grows and gets better. That is a huge opening night win for Northmore against Seneca East.
And Coach Will, you were just talking to Haverdale about the fact that you feel like his conference is wide open. The KMAC too. I mean, lots of teams victorious here tonight. The Lucas game is wrong. Danville got absolutely slugged in that one. But you know, you look at the likes of Mount Gilead and Centerburg, East Knox, Northmore coming up with a big win. So maybe quite a few teams might be in the mix here in a couple of weeks on this one too.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The big thing is, setting your season up for a lot of these guys, especially with the playoff expansion now taking 16 teams. For a lot of these teams, you're looking at almost 3 seasons. You have your non-league at the beginning, you have your league, and then you're setting yourself up for the playoff. There are going to be 3 or 4 of these schools that'll be playing past week 10. So, but if you ask every one of these coaches, if you ask every one of the players, the league title is the most important thing. That's the thing that's going to go up. That's the banner that's it's being stitched in those gymnasiums and on those football fields. So right now, every one of these coaches are focused on week 2. But I can tell you in the back of their minds, they're watching and seeing what people are doing. You can't use the transitive property, but coaches do this. We're kind of looking at scores, seeing who played well, who didn't, what was the score here, how does that match up against us, what do they do that we may have a problem with, because we need to get prepared for that down the line. So you're worried about right now, and you want your kids to worry about the right now, but those league title chases are very, very important.
We do have highlights on the way here tonight of the East Knox and Centerburg contest, as well as the Lucas win on the road at Danville. And you see Clear Fork and MOAC team getting a big win. Let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the Mid-Ohio Athletic Conference and what happened there. We mentioned the big win by the Colts, 54-8 over the Fredericktown Freddies. How about Shelby? A huge win over Madison. And Eric, you called the game. How impressive were the Whippets?
Yeah, they were really, really good. Madison struggled in pass defense. If you're going to struggle in pass defense, Shelby's going to hurt you. They've got 4 really good wide receivers. Tonight we kind of called them the 4 horsemen. I think you have probably the best quarterback in Richland County with Marshall Shepard and returning for them. They're going to be a tough out. Defensively, I thought they played well tonight. I think Lexington and Shelby playing next week. We're going to find out, was that the opponent they were playing, or are they that good?
Some other scores from around the conference. River Valley, a winner. North Union getting a W on the road at Pleasant tonight. And then you talked a little bit about the Lexington win. How good did you think they looked against an Ontario team that's very young? This is going to be a rebuilding season.
Yeah. I mean, and that's not a knock. It's just a reality. We said this in the game tonight, even with the Shelby-Madison game. That's not a talent-equated game. Shelby was obviously winning that talent side of things. Same thing in Lexington. Lexington, what I saw right out of the gate was, number one, they were ready to go. They were fired up. Coach Gerhardt had them ready to play football. The second thing was they won the line of scrimmage. And their seniors played really well. Corbin, Barry, help me out with the quarterback's name, slipping my mind. Real good ball. Pauly. Those guys did a really nice job, and they're seniors. They've been through that. They expected to win this game, and they're going to expect to go to Skiles next week and get a big win as well. But if you look at the MOAC as a whole, I think it's definitely Shelby's to lose. I think Shelby is definitely the cream of the crop there. If you were to say, the field versus Shelby, I would pick Shelby. Having said that, it's a long season because we know it's going to be a war of attrition as well. You're going to need a lot of bodies because, it's a 10-week season. Last year, what we were playing, 6-7 games, Effie. So, we're back to a 10-game schedule.
Galion as well picked up a win. We're going to have a video highlight of that on the way. Let's move on now to the Northern 10 Conference. See what happened here. Looks like we've got Colonel Crawford, a big winner. Upper Sandusky goes down on opening night. Seneca East also a loser. We know that Mohawk score should be flip-flopped. The Warriors were a big winner last night. And then Winford going down on the road. That's not normally something that you see, Effie, a Royals team losing early in the season.
Right.
I guess what do you think we can make of that and what that means for them trying to bounce back and get back in the fold?
Well, a lot of that first of all, has to do with the opponent. They played a great opponent tonight and a team that has got great football tradition, as does Winford. But again, Winford's in a little bit of an unfamiliar space right now here in the last couple of years where they haven't been dominating every team that they play. And I know Coach Calvert is really trying to remold that football program back to what it once was. But this is the reality when it comes to really the high school sports in general. But Winford now they have obviously upped their competition level. They are playing great schools, better teams, and this is going to be good for them in the end, I think, as a program. And even though they lost tonight, I know Coach Calvert is going to look at this video and show his kids, this is where we want to be. We want to get better, and we're going to learn from this loss tonight. And I'm sure, just because I know they competed well, even in this loss, they're going to take something from them.
And I'll tell you what, looking at Upper Sandusky, they really fought and battled in that game. If you would have told me it would be 22-33, I'd have said no way. And not only that, I think Upper Sandusky actually one time was leading in that game right around half. Colonel Crawford, great showing for them out of the gate in Mohawk. I was really impressed with that win because Calvert's traditionally a pretty darn good football team. So
absolutely.
The N10 is another good conference, but it's up in the air. It's kind of funny because this is one of the few times you can say, like, the field has probably caught Winford consistently, just like Effie was talking about there. This is going to be interesting to see how this thing goes because, like I said, even that Upper Sandusky score, kudos to them. That's a great job over there because I think River Valley has a shot in the MOAC.
All right, let's take a look at our final conference here tonight, the Ohio Cardinal Conference, some of our bigger schools here in the area. And we already talked a bit about Lexington putting the hammer down on Ontario. That was last night. Mansfield Senior eking one out against Norwalk. West Holmes, I think that they're going to be a pretty darn good football team this season. Harding getting a win as well. Worcester racking up a dub. The lone team that really didn't look great in the conference tonight, Madison going up against a great Shelby team. But how about Ashland, Eric, losing to a good Tri-Valley squad, but they had the lead in this game.
Right.
Tough loss for them.
Yeah, because Ashland graduated a boatload as well, so Coach Cedar was, regrouping them. And we know that Ashland always has good athletes. They always roll out a great quarterback, and they had the lead through a good portion of this game. But Tri-Valley's a heck of a program. I mean, that's a deep state playoff caliber team. So
yeah.
Ashland now has to kind of just lick those wounds, get back to work, because now you don't have time to sulk, because guess what? You get to go play Clyde next week. So you got to lace them up and get ready to go. I do expect a bounce back for them. I think that they have the players, and I think they have the DNA to do that. And I know Effie's going to talk a little bit about Mansfield Senior here, because that's a quality win for those guys as well.
What was your takeaway from the Tigers, Effie? All 18 of those points coming in the first half.
Right.
They look really sharp. The defense pitching a shutout at that point, and then in the second half, didn't look quite as sharp.
Right, and again, Eric talked a lot about the preseason this year and how that could have hurt them, and we saw a lot of inconsistent play on both sides. When we watched that game, what were there, maybe 2 or 3 fumbles within the first quarter for North. But when the game got settled in, they just couldn't find their rhythm. I think they made a quarterback change there early in the third quarter, and Duke Reese, the young sophomore, got in, and I thought for his time played well. But what that tells me is Coach Bradley is still looking for something. There's something that's still missing, and the young quarterback might be the move they have to make. Now, I think Brock came back in, their starting quarterback, Brock Hill, came back in, finished the game, played well, and got the win. But again, those early season missing, that contact and really working out the things in the preseason that you need to work out have to display themselves on the game night on the field. So Mansfield got exposed. A lot of things got exposed tonight, but coaches, just like we talked to Coach Haverdal, he's going to dig into this tape tonight, as is Coach Bradley. I guarantee you he is up right now digging into this film, evaluating his players, and seeing, okay, week 2, we've got Lima Senior coming in next week. We're going to see where we need to make changes and get better. So all around, they got to win, plus they get a chance to learn and get better. So I think it's a great job for the Tigers this night.
I got a question for Effie. Now, Effie, what's going to happen here? People are going to start quarterback controversy, right? I mean, that eventually starts happening.
Well, Brock Hill was our MVP of the game, though. He clean, no turnovers, rushing touchdown, passing touchdown.
Where I'm going with that is what do both of those quarterbacks do well? What do they bring? Because you've seen them now. I remember you were telling me about the young kid last year.
Yes.
So just like what do both of them bring that Chokey would feel comfortable even throwing in a young guy like that in that situation?
Well, I think what the young kid brings is he has got great potential, number one.
Right.
But as we stand here today, his arm strength is he's got a strong arm, and I think 1-to-1 he's a more accurate passer. Now, we all know that is just a small part of the complete package that is a quarterback. And right now he's probably a better passer of the football, but I think Brock, being a senior and had been in the experiences, he right now gives them the best chance.
Sure.
But I think, and I don't think it's going to be a controversy, to be honest. What I think is going to happen, I think Coach Bradley is going to evaluate the situation, and they're going to look. Now, I don't think this is the end of what we're going to see from Duke Reese. I think Duke Reese will play again. I think they're going to utilize those quarterback strengths as they need them. And I don't think it's going to be a controversy because both of them will play. But I think the Tigers, outside of quarterback, have got loads of talent. And if they can pull it all together, they're going to have a special season. So if they can get that trigger man right, with my old coach used to call it a trigger man. If you can get that right, they can go a long way this year offensively.
All right, so there are all your scores from around the area from the last couple of nights. The final results, and I too believe that Mansfield Senior looked like they got all the pieces and parts. They just got to kind of put it together all at the right time. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for staying up late with us. Effie, I know it's way past your bedtime, so we're going to let you get out of here. That's the Coach's Corner, people. Eric and Effie.
Love it.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take
Brian.
a timeout. When we come back, first off, I know that we're streaming live on the Facebooks and the YouTubes. Go ahead and throw some comments, man. If you got some questions for these guys, let us have it. If you want us to comment on anything, please let us know. But when we come back on the other side, we've got highlights for 8 total games. Lots of reporters on the way too. Stick around. Welcome back to the Friday Night Pigskin presented by MTD Products, where it is time for everybody's favorite part of the show. That's right, it is highlight time, folks, and we got a whole bunch of them on the way from the last couple of days. Let's go ahead and roll the footage on our first highlight of the night, which is Crestview, the Cougars. Danville, Ashland County showdown here. The Birds thought they was going to get out to an early start, but Tanner Moore had other plans. Pick 6 here, 14 yards to the zone. It was 7-0 Cougars early. Let's fast forward now, closing seconds of the first quarter. Peyton Reagan is about to even the score. A 3-yard touchdown plunge would make it 7-7 as we head to the second quarter now, and dimes are about to be dropping out of the sky, folks. Hayden Kuhn, his first career touchdown pass is a pretty one. Addison Raymer on the other end of that. It was 17-7 Cougs at the break. The Birds would get within 17-13, but this was the big play of the night. 63-yard connection to Sean Bailey, and it was all Crestview from there. They would pour it on 45-25 in this game, and not even pictured here in the moving pictures was our MVP of the game, Mr. Morris, who went for a $170 on the ground and a couple of TDs. So that's how good and a complete of a game the Crestview Cougars had. And somebody that knows a thing or two about playing football for the Cougars, how about this guy right over here to my left, Garrett G-Man Parlett, who was out and about last night. You took in another bloodbath, if you will. Ontario versus Lexington. G, tell the folks about it.
Yeah, guys, me and Storm were out at that game, the backyard rivalry, and Lexington was all over Ontario throughout the whole entire game. Let's roll those highlights and see what happened. Carson would take the handoff from his QB, Pauly, and would plunge this one into the end zone to make it 7-0 here early. And then Lex would get 2 back-to-back long runs as Corbin Green takes this one 77 yards to the house, and his running mate the very next possession, Carson Berry, would take this one to the house as well on the next play. 53 yards of his own. Carson Berry had 13 attempts, 110 yards, and 2 TDs, so he was trying to upset his brother's performance from a few years ago. But Lex would run away with this one early as Cole Pauly hits Carter Newman with a beautiful pass right here, touch pass right in the bucket, in stride, as Lexington would run away with a big win, 45-0. But listen, Carson Berry's not done yet, Brian. He's going to take this next kickoff to the house, trying to upset Big Bro's performance, as I mentioned, all the way to the back of the zone. But Lexington would run away with this one, Brian, 45-0.
Those Berries just have it in for Ontario. When they see, that color of blue, they just run wild. It's amazing to see what they have been able to do. And, it's pretty easy to talk about the good times. Lexington with the big lopsided victory, G, but even though they won big in this game against an outmatched Ontario team, you felt like maybe they could still clean up a couple of things.
Yeah, definitely. They were very sloppy. They had a few muff punts. The punter dropped a few balls. So they definitely got to get back on the field, get some more grind in, and just it was very rusty. Both teams were. It's been a while since they played a full game. Fans were back. The crowd was back. Student sections were going crazy. So the rust was definitely there for both Lexington and Ontario.
But the running game, obviously, on fleek for the Minutemen. The highlights show that. You feel like that can carry them throughout the duration of the season, even with the senior quarterback? You think they're going to be a run-first team?
Well, it's going to be hard for defense to stop both Corbin Green and Carson Berry. It's really going to be pick your poison. And then Cole Pauly, as we see on the highlight, he can pass the ball as well. So Lexington, they really got a 3-headed monster, and it's pick your poison at this point. You stop Carson Berry, they're going to go to Corbin Green. You stop Corbin Green, they're going to go to Carson Berry. So good luck to Shelby next week. That's all I can say.
And for Ontario, who's going to have to play Shelby down the line as well, so many young guys. Their freshman quarterback, I'm told, got hurt last night. So where do they go from here? What's the next step and the next move for the Warriors?
They graduated a huge senior class last year, so they're playing a lot of freshmen and sophomore, a very young team. It's a rebuilding year for them, but here in a few years, Ontario could be a very tough team to play because the freshmen and sophomore are already getting varsity experience, and that's definitely something you want early in your high school football career.
All right, G-Man, we're going to have you back on set here in a minute for the game that you covered tonight, the Galion Tigers on the road at Marion Elgin. But next, we're going to jump over here and hang out with my guy Travis Berardi in the house, who covered a game last night. You went over to Sycamore and checked out the Mohawk Warriors, who had a good-looking performance against Calvert. Tell me about it.
Yeah, they look pretty darn good. Let's just roll that beautiful bean footage, Adam. Brian, without restrictions, as the Mohawk student section still wishing it was summer. It was a hot one, too. Right into the things, first play, and Zayden Fry on the keeper. He'll bounce right off a tackler and is in the open space. Look at him go, 80 yards. Coaches are so excited on the sideline. They almost ran me over right there. Extra point good. It's 7-0 after 1. Start of the second, and it's Colin Berth. He's going to say, "Get off me." He then gets some help from Alex Tice before going right into your living rooms or wherever you are right now. Then a couple plays later, it's Fry once again on the pitch, and he's going to go vertical into the end zone. It's 13-0. Head midway into the second. Calvert inside the Mohawk 10. There's quarterback's pressure. The ball ends up being tipped, and as you can see, it's picked by Berth. It completely confused me as well. He's going to take it back all the way into Calvert territory. Big momentum swing, and that is going to set up Nathan Gary on the fake, then lobs it to Tice for the score. 19-0 there, and Mohawk cruises to the 33-7 victory in front of a packed house, and what a sight right there, Ski. It's just so great to see full house at all these football games.
And we saw the exact same thing at Loudonville last night. Mansfield Senior had it going on, so people are happy to be able to get out of the house and be able to attend these games in person. Great atmospheres right now. Tell me about the keys to victory for Mohawk last night. It seemed like they did a little bit of everything well.
Well, first, the offensive line was just stellar. The running backs, a couple times they were able to be elusive, get off of the first tacklers, and then the offensive line was able to get into that second level, into those linebackers, and open up some holes. As you can see from that first play that we showed, an 80-yard touchdown, that offensive line really opened things up for him to take it to the house. And then on the other side of things, the defense, bend but not break, especially on that first and goal from inside the 10. Ball was tipped to the line, even confused me, as you could see in the highlight, but it was picked, taken back, turns into points. You love that, to see points off of turnovers. Just defense, offensive line, big key there.
Coaches always like to see maybe their biggest growth of the season from week 1 to week 2. Even though the Warriors got a big dub, what do they do to improve? Where can they get better?
Well, the passing game, they didn't need it last night, but if they want to go up against a Hopewell Loudon team that knocked off Cary tonight, they're going to have to be multi-dimensional. I mean, the pass game was there. They had some fakes. If they can get the run game going, they can pull off a couple fakes, maybe get a couple big chunk plays, but they have to get the pass game going because they're going to have to be multi-dimensional going down the line and getting in the Northern 10 play as well.
All right. Travis, I'm sure we'll be seeing you again real soon, sir. All right, next up on the highlight docket, looks like we have got Lucas at Danville. Let's go ahead. There it is, the Cubbies on the road in Devil Country tonight. It's been a nice long run for Coach Spittler and his squads. Lots and lots of playoff berths here in a row. I believe they are looking for 7 straight with another successful season here in 2021, and they would get off to a nice start. Let's show you Grant Barrett, a 1-yard touchdown run here early in the first quarter. It would make it 7-0 Lucas. Logan Toms now with a 12-yard TD run of his own. This was with 11:31 remaining in the first half. 14-zip Cubbies at this point. Fast forward now, still in the second quarter, and Andrew Finello is going to get in on the action as well. A touchdown run for him. It's 21-0 Lucas. And then Corbin Toms here to Finello. 45-yard touchdown pass, 1:20 left in the second quarter, so it was a bloodbath early in this game. Cubs taking full advantage, clicking on all cylinders. And then Zane Finley getting into the zone as well. This was in the third quarter. It was 34-0 Lucas. Danville would score all their points in junk time, so nothing really to see there. We've been following the Cubs' journey over the last several seasons here on the OH Report. And Andy Jardy, I'm sure that you've been keeping up with Lucas. If you just want to share some quick thoughts with me on what it is that they have been able to do and do so well. They ground and pound. What do we see? 5 different guys scoring rushing touchdowns. It's just a really cool style of play.
Yeah, they've built a culture there for sure. There is no question about that. They just seem to something in the water. They're breeding their running backs there, and they're fun to watch. They're definitely one of the top teams in the area, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Lucas can do this season as well.
Perhaps the top team in the KMAC this season could be the East Knox Bulldogs. You had a chance to see them with your own eyes tonight. Break it down for me, bud.
I did get a chance to see them, and let's take a look at those highlights here for you tonight. Starting out here in the second quarter, nobody scored in the first quarter. Take a look at this 52-yard pass from Peyton Lester to Cole DeLauder. He's not just a running back, he's got the hands of a receiver. And that made it 6-0, extra point good, 7-0 after a safety made it 9-0. Couple plays later, Lester airing it out, showing off that cannon of an arm. They don't get much easier than that. Blake Bonham wide open. It's 16-0 Bulldogs at the half. Third quarter now, Lester again showing off his skills as a passer. Beautiful touch on this one and a great catch on the other end from DeLauder again. That made it 22-0. And this was the highlight for Northridge on this one. This was basically going to be game over until this big hit on Lester here. Scoop and score, big fella. Take it the other way. That is going to be Northridge's only score of the game, as it's Cameron Brannigan, the freshman, taking it all the way back to the house. 22-8 is the final in this one tonight.
So the Dogs get it done at Chet Looney, as they typically do. What would you say really stood out about them and their performance? It certainly looked like the quarterback was dropping some dimes.
Yeah, the quarterback absolutely was making some excellent throws tonight. But honestly, for me, the defensive effort from East Knox tonight was incredible. J.D. Miller, who ran for 938 yards, 10 touchdowns last season for Northridge, not a factor in this game. They shut him down. He was unable to get any sort of momentum going tonight. And it was East Knox defense that really stood out to me.
So when you combine the nice passing game and some of the big chunk plays with that defense, typically a nice recipe for success. But where do you feel like they do fit into this KMAC conversation? Because it seems like it's a pretty deep conference. A lot of teams feel like they are going to be in the running at the end of the year.
They do, and it's going to be really interesting because the conference opener on September 10th is against Centerburg. It'll be a home game, so that is the one to circle. I think we'll have a much clearer picture of how things are going to shake out in the KMAC after that. But if Peyton Lester can make the kind of throws he was making tonight, they're going to be a tough team to knock off in the KMAC.
All right. Appreciate it, Andy.
Yes.
Good stuff as always.
Always.
And how about G-Man back on the set already? And you were over in Elgin tonight. What can you tell me about what happened between them and the Galion Tigers?
Well, Brian, Galion really struggled to pass the ball, but the running game was there. Hennef Donaldson was definitely the X factor. I mean, I seen one of the plays where he ran almost through almost every defender on the field and got it done. But let's roll those highlights and see really what happened as Galion on their first or on the opening drive as Cooper McCabe punches this one in to make it 7-0. But the next couple possessions would stall out until Galion would get this one from their quarterback, Donaldson, walking it into the end zone and celebrating with the big boy with the rocket ship to the moon. Woo! Next up would be Cy Starcher for Elgin would take this one to the cup. The QBs were trading rushing touchdowns, Brian, back and forth all game long, and Starcher would answer again with an 81-yard touchdown, cutting it back all the way and taking it to the crib. Nobody could stop either of these two QBs, and it wasn't in the passing game, it was in the running game, so a little bit differently. But Galion would go on to win this one on defense, 15-12.
And I understand that, maybe the Tigers tonight, they typically try to get their laundry done on about a Thursday night, but a lot of it out on the field for them here. Coach Dick's bunch, what was the sloppy play that really cost them here in this game?
Yeah, man, there was a lot of flags. Galion could close the ball game out with about 4 minutes remaining. They had a pick six, but it got called back by an illegal hit by their offensive lineman. So Galion's got to clean up the sloppy plays. They had a few uncalled for flags that really just shot themselves in the foot, but they were able to escape with a 15-12 win. So it's something you can at least hang your hat on and go back into next week and fix.
And they only completed a couple of passes here tonight, so the run game obviously was strong and had to carry them. Do you feel like they're going to have problems moving forward if they can't get that passing game going?
They definitely got to be able to open it up against tougher teams because the MOAC is coming. So teams like Shelby and Clearfork, they're going to have to get the passing game going because they're going to be able to shut down Donaldson and McCabe. So that was really the only thing Galion had going from the night was Donaldson. Man, he was running all over, but Galion's got to be able to open up the aerial attack to be able to beat those tougher quality teams.
And then Elgin didn't look great at the beginning of the game, and then they started to pick up a little bit of steam, but just kind of ran out of time in the game. What were your overall impressions about them and how they were able to get it going late?
Yeah, Elgin, they started the game off with these swing passes and then finally went into the locker room. And I'm not sure if they copied Galion's style, but they started running with the quarterback and it started working. They started scoring touchdowns, had the long 81-yard run from their quarterback, Cy Starcher. So Elgin, man, a lot to build from. Not a lot of expectation for them coming in the year, a young team, but they hung in with a tough Galion team who plays in a tough MOAC conference. So something you can hang your hat on.
All right, appreciate it, G-Man. Good stuff here tonight. Let's go from one MOAC game to another. How about those Shelby Whippets? Dominant performance yet again, and our guy over here, Storm Blunchley, was on the sideline to take it in. He is Mr. Shelby for us this season and last year as well. So tell me about these hungry hounds, man. Looked like they were devouring the competition again.
Yeah, Brian, you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, I wouldn't want to be anyone else but Mr. Shelby, maybe Mr. Crestview, but that's for another day. Let's go ahead and roll into those highlights. Who else would start things outside? Marshall Shepard, who puts his head down and gets into the end zone for 6. And then after some special team miscues, Shelby had the short field, and Shepard shows off the pinpoint accuracy on this touchdown pass to David Ray. Anyone else feeling deja vu, or is it just me, as Marshall Shepard would get into the end zone one more time with a 1-yard touchdown run? Shelby this time close to midfield, but that doesn't matter when you have an absolute cannon for an arm, as Marshall Shepard heaves one deep to the flash. Excuse me, that's just Blaine Bowman with a 39-yard touchdown catch. The Whippets decide to share the wealth on this one as they hand it off to David Ray, who would get into the end zone from 8 yards out, but not before making a couple of Madison defenders look silly. And I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, just repeating the same phrases over and over, but how can I not when I'm seeing plays like this connection from Marshall Shepard to Andre Hill for a 53-yard touchdown? But don't get too worried. Madison did get in the scoring column late in the third when Lucas Warren would take it 33 yards all the way to the house, bringing our final score from tonight. Madison 55, Shelby 55, Madison 6, and Shelby, of course, would take that one home. And let me tell you, Brian, Shelby looked special out there. They looked like just a phenomenal team. The way Marshall Shepard had the reins of the offense, he was calling in guys in motion, he was calling guys out of the backfield. It was a special performance to watch.
You want to see that from your senior quarterback, just totally taking control, and he's got all the weapons in the world, the 4 horsemen, as Eric will call them, those 4 wide receivers. I do like that nickname. But do they have like a little chink in the armor? Do you see any place where Shelby may actually have a weakness?
Well, I did see a couple of things on kickoffs, which is, they had plenty of those tonight. Madison was getting pretty deep into their territory. Now, then again, they weren't getting very much off of it, but their special teams play could use a little bit of work. But, I mean, when the only thing that you need to work on is your special teams, you're in a pretty good spot.
Sure. And for Madison, we had heard, this was a team that was going to be improved from the last couple of seasons. Where do you think it all went wrong for the Rams in their opener?
It was those first 3. They had 3 3-and-outs to start off the game, and I believe in their first 3 punts, they had a total of, I think, 3 yards punting. So it was a little rough, and then you get down on your luck right there, and it just leads to a bunch of bad things. So Madison, I still think that they're a pretty good team. I do think that they will beat Ontario, but I think another rebuilding year for the Rams.
And so you saw a dominant performance last night. The Lexington Minutemen with a big win. You saw a dominant performance tonight by the Shelby Whippets. Those 2 teams are going to play each other next week. Give me some foreshadowing and looking forward to the future. What should we expect from that matchup?
You want me to make a hot take here, Brian?
I would love it.
I got Shelby in a blowout win, their first home game at WW Skiles Field over Lexington. I think the Red Rush, or whatever they call that student section, is going to be too much. I think the fans are going to be too much. WW Skiles Field is just too special of a place for Shelby to come out and get beat. I am taking Shelby in a blowout win over Lexington.
All right, so you heard it out there, Purple Haze, man. You might want to show up and try to prove my man wrong, but the Red Rage, they do kind of got the rage.
Oh, they were out there. They were out there tonight.
All right, appreciate it, Storm. Good stuff as always from you, my friend. All right, what do we got? Just one more highlight left on the night, and it's going to take us back to KMAC country, where down in the heart of Ohio tonight was our very own Travis Berardi, and you saw the defending KMAC champs, the Trojans, taking on Utica in their home opener, and I understand that the Trojans look pretty good again.
They did, but I got to say about Storm, I thought it was really hot in the press box down in the heart of Ohio, but that hot take, it got me flustered right now, man.
Ooh, it's true.
I mean, we'll have to see, but, he likes to have those takes. But anyway, back to Centerburg, this was a big game for the Trojans after what they did last year. Could they possibly begin a repeat? And they got off to a good start, and let's go to the highlights. The defending KMAC champs from 2020, 6-0, taking the field in front of a packed house in the heart of Ohio. And after both teams started off sluggish, the Trojans strike. That's declared a backwards lateral, so it's a run. And Kalen Lemaster takes it 52 yards to pay dirt. It's 7-0. Next possession after a Utica fumble, and it's LeMaster again. Look at the sweet cutback. Yep, woo! It's a 14-0 Trojans lead, but the Redskins answer. Watch this perfectly executed screen pass to Brock Weigel.
Useful.
He is off to the races down the sideline. Will he score? The answer is no.
Ugh.
He's tracked down by who else but LeMaster, but Utica would punch it in. And after a Centerburg miscue, it's Tyler Kalora from a yard out, his second of the game, on 4th down, and we're tied up. But the Trojans take over from there. Jack Gregory, getting into the zone, finds Hunter Parker on the post pattern. He is across the goal line. It's 21-14 Trojans at the half. Second half, and Centerburg takes over. Gregory with the dime to Mason Turst in stride. He will not be caught. 67 yards. Trojans pull away 40-14.
So Centerburg gets the dub on their home turf to kick off the season, but not a clean game in your opinion for the Trojans. What can improve moving forward?
Well, to start off, their first possession, I believe their first play was a fumble, turned it over. They were able to get it back. Many snaps over the head of Gregory. They could have probably run the score up by a couple more touchdowns, but they just kept backing up. Multiple fumbled snaps. There was a fumble that actually hit off the leg of the center. So they just have to get that, that quarterback center connection a little bit more to get that going. Some penalties as well. A couple holding penalties backed them up. But hey, it's week 1.
Sure.
It was in front of fans. That was one of my keys to the game, was just not bottle up the emotions, but keep them to a low, because you're playing in front, full student sections, full stands. You have the bands out there. It's a little bit hot still, but you're going to get excited. You're going to get hyped up after what we went through last year. So maybe a little bit of that. But once they got going, Jack Gregory, 17 of 27, 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Wow. Tyler Johnson, these are both co-players of the game, 18 carries, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, 49 yards, workhorse. So they have the pieces, but they just have to, get it going. And actually, Tyler Johnson in our post game, he said, that wasn't my best game. That wasn't our best game. I like those leaders, honing up to that. Even though they won big, they can only say, we need to get better for week 2.
That's what you always like hearing from a championship style of team. And last year, the Trojans were champions of the KMAC. Do you figure that they will be in the mix, in the conversation at the end of 10 weeks?
I think they can, just because they have so many game makers. Just have Jack Gregory. He got on quite after, a couple short throws, you could say. He overthrew a couple, but he was able to be elusive as well and create a couple plays. He got it going after a couple series. If he can continue to get the momentum that way, and if their running backs can continue to do it all, because they like to do those little screen passes, bubble passes left and right. If they can get that going, if they can get the defense going, if they can limit those mistakes from center to quarterback, they're going to be at the top of the KMAC, I believe.
All right, appreciate it, Travis. Great work from you here tonight and all of our in-studio guests. We're going to step away one more time. When we come back, we are going to tell you about all the games that we have for you guys coming up on the OH Report next week. Stick around. That's on the other side. you guys are so great, all tuning in here on the Friday Night Pigskin, and we know that it's late night, and you've stuck around with us this long. And appreciate all the comments coming through here on the Facebook, including Aaron Morris telling us that we're awesome. We do accept donations. Typically, just pick us some cookies. We're a big crew, you know what I mean? We get hungry, so if you just want to hook us up in that way. Jimmy Chafin saying that he thinks Mount Gilead is going to be really good this year, so maybe another factor in that KMAC conference. Cole DeLauder giving a shout out. Along with Peyton Lester, so a couple of Bulldogs there. And then Brian Krall agrees with Storm. He says Shelby by 40 next week. So how about that? Hot takes all over the place. Let's go ahead and show you what games we're going to have live stream for you next week. We will have the Shelby Whippets against Lexington on a highlight. We're going to have Mohawk against Hopewell Loudon. And then we're going to have Galion taking on who, G-Man? Carey. Oh, that's a big game. All right, but as for the live streams, this is what we got menu for you folks. How about Grandview at Centerburg coming up next week? We are going to have Josh on the call for that one. Let me pull up my document and I'll be able to give you guys some better information. Here we go. How about Josh Pollock is going to be able to call that game for you guys. It's going to be live and free. Coverage beginning at about 6:45 between Grandview Heights and the Centerburg Trojans. We will also have KMAC Trav down in Northmore country when the Golden Knights taking on South Central, who was also two big winners tonight.
Big win tonight for Northmore. Yeah, goal line stand to win it. Big momentum boost.
All right, let's move on to Granville at Clear Fork. We are going to have our A crew over there. Brian Harder and the lovely pipes of Bruce Wyrick are going to be on the call for that one. Looking forward to seeing if the Colts can move to 2-0 on the season. We're going to be back at Arlen Field as well next week for Marion Harding, an old rivalry. We've had some people write in and say that Harding and Mansfield Senior need to play every single year. We're going to have Andy Jardy, Effie James on the call for that one. Looking forward to see if the Tigers can put it all together and move to 2-0 on the season. We will also have our first look at the Winford Royals coming back from a loss. They're going to have Marion Pleasant, a traditional powerhouse in the area, coming over to their place. We're going to have Lynn Passett, a new announcer for us, but he's a veteran of over 30 years on the mic. He will be on the call for that one between the Royals and Spartans. And finally, we have got Ashland at Clyde. The WNCO crew are going to be a part of that one. So looking forward to a bunch of games next week, as well as the highlights that I mentioned as well, guys. So lots to come here on the OH Report in the coming weeks, and we're just going to keep trying to get better and better with each passing week. So thank you guys for staying up late with us here on the Friday Night Pigskin. We all had a good time, and we're going to see you again next time. Closing words, anyone?
Shout out to Coach Mar Hefka from Centerburg. Was a pretty good color commentator for us tonight. Got a lot of watchers giving him compliments, so shout out to him.
Cool.
Let's go, Shelby!
All right, usually it's just you, man, just left here, but I'm so tired. I'm going to stay in my seat, too. So long, guys. Okay, Storm.
Just go.